Hello, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending where you are. I will really love to welcome you to this webinar, DirectConnect to BostonSight. And we have a very exciting hour in front of us. So let's start with the introductions. So my name is Elena Barrios. I'm from Eaglet Eye. And I will be presenting the eye surface profiler tonight. But as the name of the webinar says, this is the DirectConnect to BostonSight. So we will also have with us Chris Mikkelsen from BostonSight. He's the consultation and professional affairs manager. And he will give us some insights on those amazing lenses, the BostonSight SCLERAL. And after Chris, we have the honor today to have Dr. Barry Leonard with us. And I know that you know Barry Leonard because he is very active with all the specialty lenses. We can see him in most of the congresses and in many webinars, but still I would like to introduce him properly. So Dr. Leonard, he earned a bachelor's degree in biology in the San Diego State University. And after that, a doctorate of optometry in the Southern California College of Optometry. He's also teaching for the Western University of Health Science, Pacific College of Optometry, and Pennsylvania College. He's a member of both the American and also the Californian Optometric Associations. And if you want to find him, he practices at Dr. Barry Leonard and Associates, and he's also the director of the California Keratoconus Center. I've heard that he's also a very good surfer. And I can tell you, he is not only an excellent fitter, he's also a wonderful person. So thank you very much, Dr. Leonard, for being here.
Thank you.
And with that, I will get started because I'm sure that you have realized that the transformation of scleral lens fitting is happening. It is very, very clear that in the last years, there has been so much more research done on this field around the ocular surface. There are so many more publications than years ago, bringing so much more light on how the sclera is, how the scleral shape looks like. We are fitting scleral lenses on the sclera, and now finally we are really having so much more data there. If we look at those studies, what are the learnings? And there are 2 points that are extremely important here. And the first one is that the sclera, opposite to what we thought many years ago, it is most likely asymmetric. In most of the cases, it's really asymmetric. And also very important, it's usually very irregular. We see this study from the scleral shape study group that they showed very clearly that only very few sclerals are spheric. So I am quite new to this industry, but I hear everybody talking about those days where the trial sets were mostly with spheric lenses. And how difficult can it be if you start fitting a spheric trial lens, but the sclera has a very high toricity or is very irregular and asymmetric? And also, extremely important, that looking at the cornea, we cannot predict the sclera. We have a corneal topography, and however it is, it does not mean that the sclera is going to look like the same. And of course, the more irregular eyes. And those are the eyes that you are fitting. So if you have a keratoconus case, and you will hear later on from Dr. Leonard, whatever the cornea looks like, it's not telling you how the sclera looks like. We need more accurate data, more scleral data if we really want to improve the fittings. And if we also want more practitioners starting fitting sclerals and learning in a fast manner, because this has been quite a hard work. And there it is with profilometry, of course, started shining, because it is an opportunity to change the way we are fitting sclerals. It brings much more information. It brings data not only from the cornea, but also from the whole limbus and from the sclera. This is a big difference. And also gives you really a quantitative, objective data to assess the sclera and not just guesswork. So this is really the technology to efficiently fit the scleral lenses. And now, of course, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the eye surface profiler. I'm going to give you a couple of technical details because I know that you usually like knowing more the details about the different devices, and explain you how it works in a minute. But very important to start with is to say that, of course, it is a corneoscleral topographer. So it gives you all the data about the cornea, but also about the sclera, up to 20, 22 millimeters, pretty much as you open the eye. One very big difference here is that there is no extrapolation and there is no stitching. It's really a one single shot device. So I will show you in a minute, but it takes an image of the whole anterior surface, and it is not guessing the data at the edge just based on the data in the interior. So really has one image, no stitching, and there you get more than 500,000 data points. Very accurate, and obviously there's a difference in accuracy in the cornea or the sclera. Sclera is much more forgiving, but the cornea, obviously, if you are fitting ortho-K, you need much more precision. And how it works is quite a straight away. The most important part is the fluorescein. We are going to be applying fluorescein to the cornea and to the sclera. And why is that? Is because then we are going to be projecting light on the eye. The light is going to be scattered by the fluorescein, and there is when we make the picture. And that's why we need a lot of fluorescein. We need to open the eyelids very much, because once we shoot that photo, there you get the whole data. We process the data, and then you get those images you see on the right. And straight away, that gets transformed and hide data. And here you have a very simple example where you can see that just with that first map, you see if you have toricity, with the rule, against the rule, irregular, if you have pinguiculus or bleb, you see really what you are dealing with. And I think this makes the life of the practitioner so much easier. Eaglet Eye, from the very beginning, we decided this is going to be an open platform. Today, we are here with BostonSight, which has been wonderful to work with, and they have really amazing lenses. You will see more in a minute. But obviously, you may have those cases where you may prefer for another lens. So we empower you in the way that you decide which lens you want to work with. And there are algorithms in the system that will help you predict in that first lens to have a faster fitting. And I think the last part that we can mention here is that once you have that eye scan from the cornea and the sclera, this is what we call the DirectConnect, direct connection to BostonSight. We send the complete scan to them, and there is where they do the magic and start the design and the manufacturing of the lens. And of course, this connection will make your life easier, less refits, and also the communication with the lab is going to be improved, but I think Chris will tell you more in a minute. So to summarize, and then to pass over to BostonSight, the eye surface profiler is really focusing on specialty lenses from RGP, soft, hybrid, ortho-K, and of course here today, scleral lenses. Has integrated algorithms to help you predict in that first lens. When you have the first scan, it will tell you which is the best fitting design for that particular eye. It is an open platform, as already mentioned. And also the Academy, I think, is interesting to mention because this has changed all over the world with the pandemic, that now we are much more online. And we realize that having an online academy has helped that the whole staff gets very well trained on the device, because we always hear it again and again, a good scan is the beginning of a good fit. And with that, I am very happy to open now the stage for Chris from BostonSight, because I think this is a really very powerful combination, having corneoscleral profilometry, working with a lens like BostonSight, SCLERAL, and the smart technology. This really speeds up the process, makes it more efficient, also will reduce the number of refits. And at the end of the day, this means that your patients will be happier, they will trust you, they will see how fast, how good, and how smooth the whole process goes. And usually what I learned from all our doctors, like Dr. Leonard, is happy patients means happy doctors. And I think with that, now, Chris, please continue with, I will stop sharing. And you can now continue.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'm excited to get to take you through the FitConnect portion of ordering a BostonSight SCLERAL Smart 360 lens using the data collected from the Eaglet eye surface profiler. Dr. Leonard will tell us all about what the lens can do, showing us through his cases, but I'll take you through some of the user interface. For any of you who are not currently fitting BostonSight SCLERAL, I'll be talking about our DirectConnect platform that is a lens design and practice management tool where you can place and track orders, track your shipments, and track your fitting period. And most importantly, upload images, including the Eaglet eye surface profiler scans from your Eaglet software and using DirectConnect. So we'll talk about starting a Smart 360 order. With DirectConnect, it's incredibly simple. You will register your patient. You'll open your scan from the Eaglet software, choose the first lens fit. Of course, choose BostonSight Smart 360 and choose your lens diameter. From there, you'll use DirectConnect to send it straight to FitConnect. And it's just as simple from there as confirming that you have the right patient and which lens, which eye you're ordering a lens for first. So let's talk about ways to make this even simpler for you. One of the things that we can do is really having your staff take the scan for you, letting you review the scans and choose your working scans. And from there, you can have the staff upload to FitConnect using the same process described. And at that point, the scans are in FitConnect and ready for you to design your lens whenever you're ready to proceed. Within FitConnect, when you are designing your lens, all of the data has been pulled over from the Eaglet, including the lens diameter that you selected when choosing first lens fit, the horizontal and vertical visible iris diameter, and of course, you are given a lens back surface recommendation based on those scans, including the base curve and haptics. From here, you can simply verify or change the lens diameter that you're ordering. Enter your desired corneal clearance, and the rest of the data will be there for you. From here, we simply need to calculate lens optics and choose a couple of final details. To calculate lens optics, you have three options. You can perform an overrefraction over a BostonSight SCLERAL diagnostic lens, an overrefraction over a patient's habitual corneal GP or SCLERAL lens, or manually enter lens power if you know what your desired final power will be. You'll also select your desired front surface eccentricity to be incorporated into that BostonSight SCLERAL Smart 360 design. Last couple of simple steps: select your material, add tangible hydropeg if needed, and you can leave notes for consultation and for the lab. Here I'm requesting 2 smart channels at 3 and 9 o'clock to reduce suction. And so as Elena mentioned, it's a great partnership with BostonSight SCLERAL and the Eaglet eye surface profiler. We can help you get to your fitting endpoint faster using the data-driven design of BostonSight SCLERAL and corneoscleral profilometry from the Eaglet ESP. Simple process of scan, upload, design your lens, and send it to the lab for us to take it from there. And from here, I'll pass it over to Dr. Leonard.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Let me share my screen. Hi, everyone. Dr. Barry Leonard. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I want to go through a little bit of how we make this all work with the Eagle Eye and the Boston Fit Connect, and with using some case studies to show you. And what Chris was saying, the Fit Connect is a great tool. I mean, you could talk about that for hours, but it's to order and to keep track for myself and my staff, know when warranties are up, all that stuff. It's all there, so don't discount that at all. The first case I want to talk about is a patient actually was in today for a sort of a 3-month checkup or so, but very interesting guy. He's a 40-year-old, as a boxer. He's now a trainer for other boxers, and actually he has 4 sons that someday he hopes are all Golden Glove kind of guys, and they are actually doing real well. Also, one of them for sure has keratoconus. We're going to do cross-linking soon and hopefully keep him out of scleral lenses. We'll see what happens. But he was previously wearing RGPs. He hardly ever wears them because they're uncomfortable. He had even gone over to one of the teaching university optometry schools. They tried to fit him. He wasn't happy. He's a very particular person, which you sort of wouldn't think in this boxer guy, but he's very, very particular about his vision, his eye health, and that. So he hunted me down and came in and said, I want to see perfect, and I want to see 20/20. So we all know when we get those challenges where we always rise to the occasion. So we fit him. We used the Eaglet, got some really nice scans. He did enter, you can see he's entering acuities. He was right eye 2400, pinhole down to 2040. Left eye is count fingers and pinhole to 2080. This is how he's running around. So we took our topographies. You could see pretty typical, the right eye and the left eye, they're the typical looking inferior cones there. A lot of distortion on the Myers. And here's our Eaglet for the right eye. On the left side, you see the bisphere elevation map, and that's really our workhorse in this. And on the right side, we see our tangent angles. And that is especially useful for making sure we have a good scan. And I've been using the Eaglet Eye for a number of years now, and we're always trying to perfect how to get a good scan and what solutions to use and what my staff is going to do. But we always want to check, and especially now using the SmartSight 360 and DirectConnect, we need to make sure we have a good scan with no artifacts and things that we're inducing. And so this is, we learn how to read these, and we can see a really smooth, good scan there. Looking at the left side, our bisphere elevation, sort of against the rule, scleral toricity, which always is a little more challenging, as we all know, is how do you get that lens to hang up and not decenter like all these lenses want to do. Left eye, pretty similar, a little bit more irregularly shaped over there in that scleral shape. And here's a picture of our final lenses. The first pair of lenses we ordered, we got 20/40 vision, 20/40 plus and OU 20/30 minus. I thought, yeah, we're pretty good. He certainly wasn't happy. I wasn't really pleased. So we did a little further investigation. I do have an aberrometer in my office and that, but also we have the front surface eccentricity, which Boston offers. And generally this FSE2, front surface eccentricity 2, for the typical cone in cases can get improved vision. And we did switch them to that. And we were able to achieve the vision you can see on the side there, 20/20 and 20/25 and 20/20 plus OU. He was very particular in how the edges felt and this and that. We did end up putting a front toric on these after the front surface eccentricity. We also put channels in his case, to sort of reduce that suction feeling that he sort of felt removing lenses. He just wasn't happy with that. And now he is very happy. And actually, he was in the office today, as I said, and just smiling and a happy guy. And it would have been very difficult to get to this point he's been around. He tried many other lenses in many other offices. And I think just trying to design sort of the old-fashioned way, getting this free-form Smart 360 lens in here, we could really fine-tune and follow that scleral toricity. So let's move on. We can see some of the scans. We can see the right, there's the right eye and the left eye. These are a horizontal scan, pretty nice and even, good. I like to fit closer around 200 microns, getting where we were. In this case, we just made some very small changes to the original lens design. We put the, like I say, the front toricity and the channels in there, and not a lot of other things had to be done. Here you can see in that vertical cut over here on the right eye, that typical sag at the bottom, but we're really following that cornea well. And the software is able to, by knowing our HVID and VVID, able to really predict getting this oval optic zone. We're now able to much better follow the limbus all the way around, and we'll go through that on some other cases here. The second case I want to present, 70-year-old woman came in wearing another scleral lens on her left eye, seeing about 20/40, and she says, "I want to see better." Her right eye was 20/40 without any lens in there, and that was, we wanted to just concentrate on this left eye. She was at RK many years ago, had then had grafting over that, had PRK over that, had some astigmatic cuts made on it, all kinds of stuff on this poor little cornea. You can see again here the corneal shape. We can now see this sort of oblate or oblong design at this funny angle, and some steep meridians, all irregularly spaced out. And as Elena was alluding to, we know that many scleras are in these irregular toricity shapes. On the right, we can see that we have a good scan, again, good data. Here's her topographies. The right eye, which we did not work on a scleral lens for, a typical RKI, but that left eye, there's that typical graft mess, and you can see those the rings are all distorted. And here we go. There's the eye on the left. There's her graft, nice clear graft, a little decentered. There's the lens on the eye, sitting real nicely. And we started again with a standard front surface eccentricity, and this one also we went the other direction to a front surface eccentricity 0, and generally these more oblate corneas are going to work better with that, but sometimes that is trial and error. But we can find that probably 90-95% of eyes we can reduce these aberrations with these eccentricity values, and it works terrific. We don't have to get into higher order aberration corrections and things, which Boston also offers, but that's not our topic tonight. We also, let's see what other pictures we've got here. We did leverage that front surface eccentricity values. We also put some smart channels. I like to, on all graphs, put smart channels in to reduce the suction on these lenses. And I get compliments. I'm a referral center for lenses, and I get a lot from the corneal surgeons, and I get a lot of compliments when they look at these patients down the road, 6 months, 12 months, years down the road, and they say, "Wow, these grafts look healthy and happy." And we get a good fitting lens, we get these channels, we're going to get good happy eyes. The third one I want to talk about is a patient where also was wearing scleral lenses, was referred in by another facility, had sort of given up on her. She recently lost her right lens, which was her good eye, but she said even at the best, she would feel the lenses all the time. She had to take them out 3 or 4 or 5 times a day to getting buildup and goop all over them. And she came in saying, count fingers in one eye, and the left eye, even with the old lens in, was only seeing 21/50. And there was some considerable scarring there, but as you can see, we can certainly get better vision. In this case, well, here's her topography, sort of typical looking corneas, and then here's our Eaglet scans, and you can see again a very irregular shape. You know, this over on the left side, this temporal side, very steep sclera, flat on right. So this would be a hard lens to design. You know, if we're not in a Smart 360, if we're not in a freeform type of design, it's going to be very difficult to how do we get that lens to center perfectly when we're even in a quadrant specific. It's going to be pretty tough to do. So we decided to move forward with the SmartSight 360. Looking at her HVIDs, here's the right eye. You can see there's some differential in the vertical and the horizontal. And if we come over here to the left, not much differential, but a larger cornea. So we had a much higher cone. So we went with different diameters, and you know, sometimes you're going to do that. We don't do that too often, but you always got to keep that in mind. And we can again select any diameter we want when we design these lenses, or if we make modifications, you can even change it at that point. Here we were able to, by going through, we did go through front surface eccentricity of 2 on the left eye to really hone in the vision, and we took that her previously 2150 eye to 2060. She was pretty blown away, and her good eye to 2020. And as I watched her over time, she is very happy and very seldom has to take the lenses out during the day to clean them like she was doing multiple times before. On this lens, the first lens fit, we did the SmartSight 360. We did make some adjustments. We did lower the sag 100 microns in the right eye and 200 microns in the left from the original. We added some small over refractions, and as I said, we did change the left to a different eccentricity, and with that went from a 2100 to 2060 with that change. And you can see that the OCTs up there, that dramatic cone and how well we're still able to achieve a nice, good, happy eye and good, quiet, nice eye. The lenses, over here, remember, the lenses are available from 16 to 19 millimeters in 0.5 millimeter steps. So you can really fine tune things to how you want to fit that particular eye. And, obviously we're going dry eye, maybe a little bigger and different shaped cones than that. We're going to go maybe smaller. Our next third case I want to go through, or actually probably the last one, the fourth one, is a college student, a 19-year-old, came in with his dad, hardly wears his scleral lenses, seeing 2100, 2070 vision, and was struggling a little bit in school. He's a really bright kid, very personable kid, going to school in Utah. And but he was struggling. He couldn't see and he couldn't really wear the lenses. He didn't like wearing them because they were uncomfortable. So again, took our Eaglets. You can see a little more with the rule toricity, but not quite opposite, not really regular. And we looked at his HVIDs. There's a considerable difference between the vertical and the horizontal diameter in both eyes, and this more irregularly shaped sclera. So we said, let's move forward with the SmartSight 360. And we were, in his case, we had our first lenses. We had some influx in the vertical meridian, some fluorescein influx. So by the mid to the end of the day, he was starting to get some of that midday fogging. And we did steepen the vertical meridian, the quadrant 1 and 3 in both eyes, 100 microns. And that got rid of that issue. He's seeing 20/20 each eye and 20/15 both eyes. And so this was, a home run for him, for this guy and his family. They were pretty blown away. Luckily, we got most of it done while he was here for the summer vacation, and he didn't mind coming back and seeing the folks somewhat. All these lenses, when we submit the data through the FitConnect, we're really developing this oval optic zone, using the HVID and VVID. And as we know, that's going to help us to align with the limbus and keep these lenses centered. Because, try that drop that we all want to get, lids pushing things down, gravity pushing things down, and we can really eliminate that. And a big factor in these lenses is now we have 8 meridians to work with. They're sort of, instead of, quadrant and 4 meridians, you have 8 meridians all blended together. And so you can work on more discrete areas. Like when we saw that little bit of influx, we can work right in that area instead of having to do a big, huge quadrant. And that's a huge part of what these things offer to us. I don't know if there's any other questions there. I do want to go one back time to that, how valuable the FitConnect is to do all this. And I am going to, before I get off and or there's questions, I'm going to throw out a little plug. Many of you know me. I'm very busy here in our office in my California Keratoconus Center. I'm an old dog. I'm trying to work less and only see keratoconics and have the rest of my staff handle the rest. But I do need, we're looking for a associate, someone who loves sclerals, loves Boston lenses, of course, and would like to an opportunity to come work. Or there's a lot of opportunity here. So let me know if you know anybody, spread the word. So with that, I will stop sharing and send it back over to Elena.
Well, I can tell you that if I was an optometrist, I would be applying for that job, Barry, but it may need to wait until the next life that I do optometry studies. Thank you so much. This was, I really love the part where I see clinical cases. It's always so interesting, and you have such extreme keratoconus cases that is quite something to see them. I have a question here that maybe may have been answered with the 8 meridians, but it's asking how many meridians can be observed after wearing the lens?
Yeah, so I think that is it. We now have really 8 meridians. So in a normal the normal fit kit lens from Boston, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 meridians, but now we really have 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, all the way around, and all those can be adjusted individually, up or down, limbus, edges, all that can be done independently.
Okay. And I was passed a question also in the chat. I'm not sure if it comes from the perspective that your 4 cases, you went for a 17 millimeter diameter lens. So the question was, when would you go for a bigger lens? Because BostonSight SCLERALs are known also for really having all diameters available up to 19. So when would you go for a bigger one typically?
Yeah, so as in that one case, I did go to an 18 because it was a much higher vault. I guess I'm more old school, and Dr. Carrasquillo and I have talked about this over the years. Boston has always been a larger diameter lens, and maybe I was more of a mini scleral. She did enlighten me to the benefits of big lenses and more landing. So out of those, I might have normally done a 16, but I've learned 17 and 18s. And the larger lenses more for me are going to be the much more higher vaults if we really need to go over, and also the dry eye for me. We're just trying to cover additional areas. But it's all, it's really every, doctor's choice. And that's the good part, is you have that platform from 16 to 19 millimeters at your disposal. And maybe Chris could chime in. You might have a little more to say about diameter.
And I would add that certainly ocular surface disease patients, larger is better. Patients with large HVIDs, as Dr. Leonard said, very steep clearances needed, especially for certain post-PKP patients, pellucid patients, anywhere where we may need, especially a little bit more vault further out in the peripheral cornea.
Okay, thank you. And I wouldn't like to finish today without asking you, Dr. Leonard, one last question, because we are asked very often, and I have to say more and more often in the last maybe half a year, 1 year, about building the practice. So there are many doctors that, of course, one thing is the clinical outcome and having the happy patients with good vision. But on the other side, all these devices, it is an investment for the practice. So in terms of the processes in your clinic, and we've talked a lot about this for other webinars, but I would like that you explain a bit, how has the fitting process, scleral fitting process has changed since you have profilometry with you? How does that affect the fitting process and the efficiency, or the way you even promote your clinic from the business perspective a little bit?
Sure. I mean, it's completely changed the fitting process for me. And what really comes home to me is, this is what I do in my clinic. I also go to offices to help train, and I don't bring my Eaglet with me, and they don't have one. And so I'm always, there's my previous method, and the old school way we always have done it, and now I have the new. And so it's really changed. Once we have this information, I mean, in the past, when we don't have profilometry, the only part of the eye we don't know anything about really, or anything the shape is the sclera. I know the shape of the cornea, I know the shape of the retina, I know all this stuff. I didn't know it. And we do our art, and we put them on, and we all get pretty good at looking and tucking and bending things. We got a pretty good product, hopefully, after many, many lenses and many, many visits, which is not great business model for me, and patients aren't really thrilled as much as I think they love me. How many times do they want to come? So now when we can take profilometry, the first, we're going to put a diagnostic lens on their eye, usually to get the power, unless they have something previously, but I don't always trust that if it comes from somewhere else. So I'm going to put a diagnostic lens. Well, that first diagnostic lens I know is going to be the correct diagnostic lens. In the past, sometimes you got to put a second or maybe a third one just to get in the ballpark. So right away, you have a better experience for the patient. You get that over-refraction and you're done. Then you can send this data off through DirectConnect, or even if it's, you're going to do a standard lens, that we can still use the Fit Kit from Boston and do that. You're still going to get more data and more knowledge of how that lens is. So we hopefully get that first lens, one and done. And I think that's the goal of these freeform lenses, and we're getting there. And we have many lenses that are certainly very acceptable, if not ready, done. But, I'm a perfectionist. We all want to make, small changes and get things perfectly. But that whole process now is faster and smoother for both as a business model. We have less chair time, and a patient with a much better experience. So it's much easier to market, and getting into that part is when I can talk to, again, other optometrists, other corneal surgeons, and say, this is what we can do for your patient, and do it in this, have a much better end product in a much more streamlined version. That's what drives patients in. And then you send these patients back to their optometrist or back to their ophthalmologist, and they go, wow, this looks nice. Well, they're going to send more patients to you.
Okay.
The other part, one more thing about marketing, is the internet. The internet is your friend. So, I mean, I have people, I had a Zoom meeting this morning with someone in Iran who found me. And I always, anybody who comes to me from out of state or out of the country, I always have a talk. We just did in a BostonSight lens, actually, we did a little guy from Uganda, Africa. And he came out here to do cross-linking and me to fit him. We did it all in 30 days and got them done. But they found me through the internet, and the people are going to find you who have this technology. And the Eaglet is certainly one thing that they notice. When they see this beautiful 3D image, they see what it does to this process. So it works.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Leonard, for elaborating on that. Well, it has been a pleasure to be sharing here with BostonSight the stage today. I am 100% convinced that this is a powerful combination, because of course, if you now have all the data of the sclera, you also need a scleral lens that can, as you say, freeform wise really adapt to that particular eye. And I think this is a very powerful combination. And please feel free to contact either BostonSight or us if you want any further information that we did not cover today, or if you want for us to have a demo with you, we are happy to book a Zoom and get into details. In any case, thank you very much, BostonSight. Chris, thanks for being here today. And also to you,
Thank you.
Barry Leonard. It was a pleasure.
Thank you all. Good night.
Bye-bye, everybody. See
Thank
you
you.
next time.
Thank you.